Our Wonders curriculum is brand new this year, and also our school has a partnership with CREED from UH, and we're focusing on small group instruction as our powerful instructional practice. And a big part of the Wonders curriculum is differentiated instruction and making sure that we're teaching students to the level that they are academically. Okay, what you're going to be seeing is my 4th day into a new unit in the Wonders curriculum. The first 3 days I was, what students are learning about is rereading, sequencing, compound words, and they're also learning the long I sound. They've all been introduced to all of these different standards and topics. And so what you'll be seeing is time when students are breaking up into centers, and I'll be working with 3 small groups and 3 different groups, and they are all they're all differentiated at their own level. The day before, with the groups that I'm going to be working with, they read. There's these small leveled readers from the Wonders curriculum, and so the day before, students also had center activities, and they read together the story that we're going to be discussing for comprehension. So I believe it's called a different set of stars. And so we'll be reviewing the story together, and when they're working with me, we'll be working on identifying compound words and also retelling the story in the correct sequence of events. So the group that I'm working with, you'll see this 3 different times. Each of them will have a whiteboard, but there will be only 1 pen because collaboration during a small group is going to be emphasized. So we'll first be kind of doing a reread, but the reread will be more of looking at the pictures and really talking, trying to jog their memory. We only have about 12 to 14 minutes per center, so I don't have the time to reread the story with them. So that's why I have them read the story the day before. And so we'll be talking, and then each of them will have a different part of the sequence of events to write. So one student will be first, but they'll all collaborate in what will happen first. So that's why there's 1 pen, one writer, 1 scribe, but 4, including myself, 5 authors. So we'll all work together to put the story that they read the day before in the order of events. The other students will be there will be 3 center rotations. The other students will be either working on tech, and they will either be on their Achieve 3000 account, or they'll be working on some of the online Wonders activities that I assign to them through their Wonders accounts. There'll also be a vocabulary review station where they are using vocabulary cards. They'll be doing a cloze activity, which means fill in the blank with the correct vocabulary word. They'll only be, again, they'll be expected to work in a group. There will be only 1 scribe, and the students understand this. So in their center activities, really gives them a chance to work on using their living and their Pono values, because there will not be an adult working with them directly. They're expected to be able to work through the activity at the center. You'll also see a phonics activity. Well, their students will be working in pairs, and you'll also be seeing another activity that I've noticed that students, when they're rereading, they're often not rereading strategically. So I designed 1 center activity where they're going to read a book about day and night. We're reading fiction stories about stargazing and space. And so this is a nonfiction book that gives a little bit more scientific information about what makes day and night. And the students will be asked to go back and to read it together once, and then to go back and identify another closed activity, but they have to find the exact sentence, and they have to fill in the blank for the exact word that's missing. We call this our match-match strategy, being able to go, read a question or read a prompt and to go back into the text and find exactly where this is the building blocks for finding text evidence. So I'm trying to find, I tried to plan an interactive, more of a fun activity that teaches the students to go back and to look back in the book strategically like a detective so that they can find the missing word. And my goal with this is for them to be rereaders, which is one of the skills that we're working, or the strategies that we're working on, and to really do it with thought and purpose behind it. Because a lot of times, if you ask a student to reread, could be 10 pages, 2 minutes later, I'm done. Well, no, maybe not. Did you reread? You may have reread, but did that child reread in the way that I expected them to? Well, the outcomes that I'm expecting, the group that I'm working with, I'd like to see that they have a firm grasp of how to sequence a story from beginning to end and to pull out the main topic and main details. So it is a type of formative assessment I will have, and it will also kind of, for me, be a readiness kind of tool for me to gauge whether they'll be ready for an assessment or not, depending on how well they do in the activity. The students that are working at their own centers, the outcomes, I do look for, there are some products that they'll be turning into me, whether it be the worksheets that they've worked together on. I hate to say worksheets because it has such a bad rap, but I would say the activity that they're working on together, they'll turn those into me. And for students who went online, I can look online and see how they did on their Wonders activities and also on their Achieve 3000. So I can go back and see that data to see how well they did. So the outcomes will be different products, and then in my group it would be more of a formative assessment. During my briefing, we will discuss, again, we'll review our Pono values, that number one, and I'll review every single center activity with the students, and I'll have an opportunity for questions. Some of the activities we did yesterday and we've done in the past as well. So some of them they are familiar with those routines. So I think, well, they didn't necessarily do them yesterday. They didn't, but they've done them before. So because what we're seeing is at this point, this is after we've been working to get to really having these centers that work very well with one another all year long. So the class management, the behavior management, really at this point is coming internally from themselves and their own desire to work together to complete the task and to be learners. And sometimes, there can be conflicts, but for the most part, students can work it out, and during our debriefing time, they'll have an opportunity to share what maybe didn't work in their center. And students are usually pretty honest, and what I've noticed recently is they're no longer pointing the finger at each other, but they're starting to take responsibility as a group. We could have done this. We didn't, I got mad at him, or I gave up. So you'll start to hear some accountability, self-accountability for when things went great, and if they didn't go so good. With the small group leveled readers, after each story, there is a set of questions, and which are prompts, and they're meant to be used as a guide. So I'll be using that as my format. I won't necessarily be following it verbatim, but I'll be using it as a launching pad. It's going to be reviewing sequencing. It's going to be reviewing compound words, and the activity that we do together. I'll be going over like what sequent words first, next, then last, or finally. So making sure that we're using those in order. Well, the center activities are something that students really, really love. They're engaged in their either with a partner or with a group or with a piece of technology, or if they're working with me with the teacher. So there's really no opportunities. The center activities there's 3 rotations. They're 12 minutes long, and there's a lot to do in those 12 minutes, and the expectation is you do complete as much as possible, but the number one expectation is that you're working together, that you're compromising, you're agreeing with each other, being accountable for each other to complete the task, because they know that that sense of freedom that they get with the center activity will only go as far as the products they're producing and how well they're working together. Because if they're not working together well, we need to take a step back. We need to talk about how to be Pono, and before I release that amount of freedom to them. Well, the relevance is that it's really important for students to learn to work together. So, from the beginning, they love the center activity, but the center activity really provides them, they have a lot of freedom and they enjoy that because they're interacting with one another. But it only will work if they are following their Pono values and being accountable to one another. So that's the meaningfulness, is that they're learning to work with one another. And then also every center activity that they're doing, I would say would be a little bit below their instructional level. So it's something that they can master. So it's a review of concepts they've already learned and in preparation for our assessment, and then also making sure that they're hitting those learning targets and standards that we've covered in the morning.